We'll talk to Gil Capps from the Golf Channel momentarily here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Mike Gill for Clark's Moving and Storage. They want all their customers to know they're here to help during these difficult times. Clark's is following all sanitizing guidelines. Customer and employee safety is of utmost priority for your always, but now more than ever. Clark's Moving and Storage. Call them in Rio Grande for your next local move, long distance or international. Clark's provides all of the packing, storage, and transportation services. The guys are excellent. I've used them. If you need to do a move during these tough times, let the professionals handle it for you at Clark's Moving. 609-889-0780. They were tremendous for me for my move. Visit them online at clarksmoving.net. So that's the scenario. Tiger Woods, Masters, Power Red on a Sunday on top of the leaderboard, or Patrick Mahomes leading the Chiefs on CBS. What's the CBS going to do? They're going to have Masters on CBS Sports Network, the NFL on CBS? I don't know. Let's talk to Gil Capps from the Golf Channel. I know, Gil, that we talked about this about a month ago, the possibility of things moving, and now that looks like, hopefully anyway, the reality is that you're going to get the Masters Sunday in November, right? I mean, and I guess, look, they're trying to make the best of a terrible situation for everybody out there, but the new date for the Masters, November 9th through the 15th, and that puts them square up against the NFL.
Well, hello, Mike. Hopefully you're healthy and you're staying safe up there. Yes, and hopefully that we're going to have golf then. I mean, big schedule drop in our World of Golf this morning. Announcement that the Open in England in July canceled. First time we've had a major championship canceled in 75 years in the World of Golf since World War II. And then the other three major championships rescheduled for this year. We'll start with the kind of do it backwards. We're going to start with the PGA Championship in early August, San Francisco. Middle of September, going to have the U.S. Open, a little closer to your neck of the woods, Winged Foot, outside New York City. Two places, right, who they're kind of have experienced some of the worst of what's been going on, especially the New York City area. So hopefully these dates will hold. And then, as you mentioned, a Masters tournament in the middle of November, which for all this happening, and there's so many more important things in the world, that does put a little spark and a little optimism in everybody's step today. How cool that would be to be at Augusta National in the fall, a completely different time of the year, right? 7 months later than the Masters has always been played. Never been played out of March or April. Never had a Masters round after April the 15th of any year in the 83 previous Masters that have occurred. And you're right. It will, who knows what the world will be like in November, what the sports world will be like. I tend to think that the Masters, to get to think where you want to go with this, Mike, is unlike any other golf tournament. It's the most famous golf tournament in the world. It's the one that everybody knows about, and the one that even if Tiger isn't playing, it gets a really, really good rating, and people are tuning in to watch. I think there'll be plenty of attention on it. The novelty of it being that time of year, you won't have azaleas. You may have a little color in some trees. And then the schedule you were mentioning, what do you do? I think you have to remember we're in November, and there's not nearly as much daylight. You're going to have sunset in Augusta probably around 5:30 that time of year, and you're probably looking at a weekend. It may not be as much on a Saturday. They could maybe switch around the SEC games, even if you look at the SEC college football schedule as of right now. There are not exactly any really attractive games that Saturday that you would, if you're CBS, you'd want to move into a prime time. But I was expecting the weekend you'd see something similar that we saw the last year when Tiger won, when there were storms threatening in the afternoon. Going off threesomes, possibly even split tees, but at least threesomes. I mean, people make the cut, and finishing the Masters probably around 3:30 in the afternoon, to where that'll be the weekend where CBS has only late games.
Yeah, we talked about.
So you finish the Masters at 3:30. You have a little time for a playoff, and then you're off to your late football games.
Well, and that's something that we had brought up a couple of weeks ago, and now even to today, which was, with all these sports possibly coming back all at the same time, trying to all, cram into a window. CBS owns the Masters and it owns the AFC on that Sunday. You got Tiger Woods potentially, trying to go back to back up against, a football game. Where do they put the Masters on that final Sunday? I mean, that to me is a very intriguing proposition of what could potentially happen with the rights to these big time events. You have the U.S. Open going up against the first weekend or second weekend of the NFL potentially. So I find that to be something where golf, as you just mentioned, the Masters weekend is typically, it owns it. That's the only thing going on that time of the year. It's really the kickoff to the spring season, and now it can potentially have its biggest moment up against the NFL. The U.S. Open, one of its biggest moments up against the NFL. And as you mentioned, college, I feel like, they want to try to get it in, and they got to do what the life deals us right now, but it would be really unfortunate if it gets lost in the sauce up against an NFL Sunday.
I think the Masters is the different. I don't think it would be. I think the NFL in those early games would take a hit. I don't think maybe you see the Masters rating what it usually would be, but it's everybody's in this boat, Mike. Right? It's so fascinating. You're going to go from from maybe a 4, 5, 6 month sporting drought to one that is like Thanksgiving gone crazy with a smorgasbord. You have weekends where you could possibly be having all 4 major sports, and you could be maybe having NBA finals and NFL games and auto races and a tennis major and a golf major and all on the same day.
Yeah.
It could be, and look, it could be, I mean, that's the thing, right? We're wishful too. We're really hoping that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
We really was kind of hoping that, we all spend, several months kind of staying at home and fingers crossed everything goes as well as it can go. And then hopefully I'm going to be spending another 3 or 4 months at home watching wall-to-wall live sports from, 9 in the morning to midnight with everything being played kind of all at once. It's kind of exciting, but you're right. I think if they'd rather have their druthers, they'd rather kind of be spaced out, have their own attention. Hopefully that'll get back to being that way in 2021.
Yeah, and a rise schedule due to the pandemic means the FedEx Cup playoffs have been put back a week. The final round of the Tour Championship will now move to a Labor Day finish on Monday, September 7th. So, the season is being pushed back. But I did see, and I bring this up locally because the LPGA has an event here in the Atlantic City area, and they pushed that back into the last week of July, first week of August. Very hopeful that goes off, but I thought that was also an aggressive timeline. So all of these, I mean, the Masters in November, okay, I feel like that could possibly go off, but there's no concrete evidence that any of these things could happen if you're still talking about early September or August dates.
Absolutely, or especially without fans. And what would how odd would some of these events be without fans? Golf being a sport which people are still playing. That's Golf Now here, our Golf Now Tea Time business that has such a great presence around the entire nation. 60% of the facilities in the U.S. are still open. So it is the one sport where you maybe could see, play being going on in the professional tours, but with no fans and with some kind of social distancing amongst players and officials. But it's tough, And the other thing that's kind of tough with it, it's different. Golf being so different, it's not a league. So I know there's so many issues you have now with baseball and with basketball and when they start up and the the labor agreements and this and that, and golf being different, being that all these major championships are run by standalone governing bodies, and the tour kind of being more of a player organization. It'll be interesting to see how these independent contractors treat it. Do you have guys that have done so well and have so much money, and even if golf starts back up in July, they kind of look at it and say, you know what, I just don't feel comfortable going back out. I'm not going to go back out for 2 months, or I'm not going to skip the first major of the year.
Right.
You can see that. You can see guys like Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson and et cetera, who just, they don't need to get back out there for the money, and they don't have to get back out there. They may have families or situations where they choose not to.
Gil Capps from the Golf Channel here. Your thoughts on the plans for the Tiger Woods-Phil Mickelson rematch that could potentially throw Tom Brady and Peyton Manning in there as a 2-versus-2 matchup?
Wow, I think that their hearts are in the right place. Or some of them's hearts may be in the right place. So some of them, their thoughts may be more toward toward some brand building and some other business ventures. But I don't know. I think that once again, with everything going on, this is personal opinion. So much more important in the world. Everybody be safe, be healthy, look out for not just yourself, but all of mankind. I don't know what kind of signal putting something like this on, even in May, even in the next month, what that sends, what signal that sends. So I'm a little iffy on it. The people that organize those things are a lot smarter than I am. So I just hope that anything like that potentially goes forward is done so with a lot of forethought.
He's Gil Capps from the Golf Channel. The big news today: the Masters will be in November. That is the target date there, November 12th through the 15th. The new dates for the Masters, the U.S. Open, September 17th through the 20th are the new dates, and the PGA, August 6th through the 9th in San Francisco. Really hope we see the PGA. That would be a great sign, but the messages from the governor of California that they really suggested they don't even think NFL games are going to start out there. So if we see the PGA, that's a great sign, and if not, obviously that could be a domino effect that we lose the U.S. Open and the Masters, but we will keep our eye on it. Gil Capps from the Golf Channel giving us some insight on these moves, and hopefully we see these events, Gil, and you and I are talking and previewing them in the fall.
Fingers crossed. I'm ready to watch live golf. Even though, right, if you're a golf fan and you love the Masters, you got a lot on this week between Golf Channel and replays of some really great Masters on ESPN and CBS the next 7 days.
You sure do. And if you really want to get into the Masters, you can pick up Gil's book, The Magnificent Masters. Check that out while you're rocking on your rocking chair, letting the time pass during this quarantine. Gil, always a pleasure, pal.
Thank you, Mike. Likewise. Stay safe.
Yeah, man. Gil Capps, at Gil Capps. That's Gil with one L, Capps on Twitter. He's the author of The Magnificent Masters, head of the editorial research unit at the Golf Channel and NBC Sports Golf. And you can often see him on the 18th hole tower getting ready for all the golf majors. And he joined us on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Gil Capps, everybody. Good to have him with us.